Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Westminster Select Board to order for Wednesday, January 26, 2022. Welcome everyone. Everyone online can hear me? Okay. And welcome everyone who's joined us today. Calling this meeting to order, we will now entertain adjustments to the agenda. Are there any?
I have none.
Seeing no adjustments to the agenda, we'll now move on to the acceptance of the minutes for January 12th, 2021.
I'll move that we accept the minutes as printed.
Second.
Motion to accept the minutes as printed for January 12th, 2022 have been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstention.
Sue Harlow was not present, so she's abstention. 4 yeses. The minutes are adopted. Thank you. Communications and public comments. Yes, Ms. Streeter.
I have a question. Do we have to offer Zoom now? Going further, do we have to offer the Zoom option?
Yeah, town manager.
As far as I know, it's not mandatory because we have an in-person meeting. We didn't have an in-person meeting and the people didn't have the opportunity. We do it for convenience and for those who don't feel comfortable about the meeting.
Okay. I think it's comfortable enough now that, it's easy to sit behind a computer and complain, but if you have a real issue, then you should be able to attend a meeting in person, is my feeling. I have one more question.
Certainly.
About the ARPA.
Yes.
Will I be able to ask questions when that comes up, or should I do it now?
You certainly can. It is on the agenda under new business, but you can, during communication and public comments, you are free to bring up any issue that you may wish to.
Okay, I was just curious as to who the executive branch is that's asking for ARPA money that's in our packet.
That
There's
is
the
the
highway committee, there's the highway department, and there are 2 from executive branch.
That's the select board and their meetings.
Oh. Thank you.
Is that clarified for you or not?
Yeah, so basically it's so that the select board can televise and be more mobile with their meetings. Is that correct? Or?
It gives us the flexibility to be mobile, because right now we don't have a permanent drop dead place for them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Is there any reason why we can't make this our permanent place?
Katrina, could you identify yourself too?
Oh, sorry, Katrina Hamilton,
Okay, thank you.
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
It would just random question, because it seems like a good sized space, it's convenient. Everybody knows where it is.
Right now, we have the option
Okay.
from the fire department to use it. Will it become permanent? I can't answer that. So it's still moving parts that people don't realize what's happening right now. So that's why everything is mobile.
We have a question from online, hand raised.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
John Jones for the record.
Yeah.
How's everybody this evening? I wanted to go back to the remote meeting for a minute. I sent out an update and CC'd some folks about the governor's decision to allow select boards and boards to meet remotely and not designate a location. A lot of folks are moving in that direction, and there's been a overwhelming request to have this option to participate in public meetings. So I asked people to review it, consider it, and apply it if you want, but taking the option away, I don't know if that's a healthy option right now. So sorry, I could not attend in person. I'm remote, so
All right, and appreciate you being.
thank you.
Yes, discussion, Sue.
I think the question is whether it's required that we have a Zoom attendant or we provide convenience and courtesy for our residents.
Correct. Any further?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, John. I mean,
No, sorry, you get a little acoustics going on, so I apologize. The requirement for it has not been identified, but there's the governor's request that he signed allowing boards to go fully remote. But we have to have an option for those who feel uncomfortable to attend publicly. So that's just how it was brought to us. And I know the other boards I'm on, they have voted to go 100% remote. And I'm not saying we have to do that, but that's a great question that we could probably get answered directly is, do we have to have this as an option? So thank you.
thank you, John. Yes, Brad.
How do you find the Zoom link to attend the meeting?
It's on the website,
On the town website?
and it's on their website and their Facebook page and ours.
And who's they?
Fact TV.
Oh, it's back to you. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Going back.
Yes, Chief.
I think the Zoom is valuable, but I don't think we should hold a meeting up. I mean, it's all running through the web, through the internet, whatever, and if there's a problem with that, I don't think this meeting should be delayed or postponed because you don't have the ability. I mean, our internet connection here is not great. You could lose it anytime, and I don't think the meeting should come to a stop, a pause, because you lose the internet connection. But having the availability for people, I get it, I understand. I think that's probably a good option.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
I think he brings up a good question. Last time we were there, if we legally put it on our website that Zoom will be available, and then all of a sudden it isn't. If we put it on the website and it wasn't, and it was available, it'd be different. So I think we should get an answer to that. If once we put it on our webpage that this thing is available through Zoom, so people decide not to come, I think we legally do have an obligation that we have to keep telecasting through Zoom. I don't know what the answer is.
Maybe it needs to be worded differently.
Yeah, and back to her question on it, of why we can't make this full-time. Originally, we discussed it, making it full-time at the Institute, but the elevator is not working. So we're kind of here to figure it out for a little while. Then when the Institute comes available, we were going to have another discussion on maybe making it, we need to at least come down to a time where at least a whole year we're in the same building at the same place so people get used to it. And that was one of the things that we were going to discuss. Try it here now, see if it is, and then when the Institute comes available, to see if that is an option that we want to explore.
Thank you. Yes, June Streeter.
On having it at the Institute, I'm not in favor of that, only because it's a private building. And they recently closed to the public because of Corona. So when the next virus hits us, they could close the building again. And as far as I know right now, the only people allowed in that building are the ARPA meeting. Everybody else is not allowed access. So I would not put
That's been
a
part of the
public
discussion.
meeting in a privately owned building if it was up to me.
Thank you. Are there any participants online that wish to address these several issues?
Not as of yet, no.
Anybody? Okay. Yes, Brad?
I've got someone still trying to get in on Zoom, and they're saying on Fact TV that there's no live feeds right now. Where is it on the town webpage?
Front page, on the select board.
Right on the front page, or select board?
Did they go to the Fact TV Facebook page?
I'm gonna try and find out.
Okay.
On the formal, Russ,
I'm sorry.
I know, I didn't mean to interrupt the, so for our current notice for this meeting, the wording that was utilized was in person, Westminster Fire Department and Zoom conferencing when available through Fact TV, Zoom link on Fact TV, excuse me, Facebook page, town website, and upon request. So it does say when available. Now, I don't know, I'm simply pointing out, I don't know if that's effective language, but
With your permission, I'll ask Larry about that and
yeah,
find out what areas are legal.
to address, yeah, thank you, to address the questions that have been raised here this evening by everybody. Yes, Sue.
I just say from a practical viewpoint, what Cole said, not everybody has an adequate internet connection or reliable internet. So to have only remote meetings doesn't make sense to me until everybody has reliable broadband everywhere in town.
Excellent point.
But we were just talking, the connection from this building is not as strong as it is from the town hall.
It definitely isn't. I have trouble from home. I don't have any trouble at the town hall, but I do from here.
Just another thing to.
Just another.
Can I ask one more dumb question? We've been through, 3 years, and when we had a long period of time where we didn't have Fax TV, we had Zoom, it did seem to work. Is there a reason why we can't have one computer with Zoom here along with Fax so that if somebody wanted to, they could actually have one laptop sitting that we could correspond with?
We've never had this, just Zoom. We had it through Fact TV. And when it was all remote, we used their service so that they could live stream it. And so we've never had a separate Zoom account going. We have one, but there's no advantage to trying to have a second feed to this meeting, I wouldn't think.
So I thank you everyone for your input and comments. Are there any further comments regarding the issues raised here this evening? As far as the proper notice, as to the venue of our meetings, and as to the accessibility of extra media or media utilization such as Zoom, Fact TV, and Facebook page. Question was raised also as to our venue physically, and also brought up that the Institute, it's now been raised from a member of the community that that might not be a proper venue given what was stated, that it's a private building, that we could not have perhaps full access. And I think I've got the issues brought up under communication public comment. If I have missed any, please let me know. If not, are there any further comments for the record before we move forward? Yes, Chuck Morris.
Has there ever been any thought into having meetings upstairs at the town hall and possibly using the North Westminster Community Hall for the Historical Society? So they'd have their own spot, we utilize a historic building, and the building that we dumped all this money into, we could actually utilize for what it was built for.
I can answer that question. Yes, the answer to your question, yes, we brought it up to them and they didn't want nothing to do with it. We brought up to them even putting the carriage in there. We brought up to them, them using that. It was one of the ideas we came up with, and they didn't, well, honestly, I don't want to say the hardest term, but they basically didn't want to be part of it. They wanted to stay upstairs where they are.
who need that space. And we're willing to help them with a different space.
I think
I
down the road, we have discussion, because like I said, I'm not crazy about the Institute, even though we did bring it up, I always think it was cold. But I think somewhere along the line between now and town meetings, the select board needs to have more of a discussion on it. And eventually, yeah, it would be nice to be able to get down to a permanent place that everybody gets used to, know what's coming in. So,
I mean, that was a suggestion, just give them a building. I mean, obviously, it needs work. We should figure out how to make it usable, because obviously now it's not.
Suggestion has been made for everyone who may or may not have heard from Chuck Lawrence about actually talking to the Historic Society regarding the building we have in Gageville. That could be an option, and perhaps just discussing it, maybe we should have the Historic Society representatives in to discuss that as a possibility strategically. Perhaps, obviously, the building does need some work, but the Historic Society is an incredibly important part of our identity here and who we are, and everyone appreciates all that they do, and perhaps we should have that discussion more formally in front of the board with them to see if that is in fact something they may want to consider before we just foreclose it. Yes, sir. Fletcher.
Since I happen to be vice president of the Historical Society.
Okay.
I mean, I know that there's resistance to the idea of moving away from both the Bradley Law Office and the historic zone here. That the Historical Society sort of felt much more centered here, but I'll mention it to them at the next board meeting and see what, if they run me out of the meeting.
That's the worst that can happen, right? Thank you, Fletcher.
Somebody looked at that building, it's really a unique building. There's, you know, if they wanted to have fundraisers, if you wanted to have a talk, there's a stage, there's a full kitchen downstairs. I mean,
can you move it here?
No, unfortunately not, but I'm just saying, what a great spot. There's so many things that, you know, if it weren't COVID, you could put on dinners, you could do all kinds of different things.
Location.
but one of the things I think we need to discuss with select board too is the reason why we're here was that there is no room upstairs the way it is. And I really feel we have to have this meeting on because of that. I think we have to have a discussion of how many people can we fit in here and be 6 feet apart and be safe, and so that everybody feels that they do come, they're going to be safe, compared to how many people we can fit up there or in the Institute. So, because really, it might be a long term before we're ever allowed to have that many people that close in a room. And so this is working, but if all of a sudden we didn't have Zoom and all of a sudden we had 20 more people, are we actually safe in here? So somewhere along we should have a discussion of how many people we can fit in here comfortably and safely and still be 6 feet apart.
Mr. Chair, this is Cynthia. This is Cynthia Stoddard. I'd like to say something. So first of all, let me just say that I'm sorry that I got so excited last time. I don't like to get that way, and it didn't make me comfortable, and that's not how I want to be at a public meeting. So first of all, let me say that. And second of all, I don't think that I have ever been accused of hiding behind a computer screen before, but that's a first for me. So, but the second thing I want to say is, since that meeting, I have talked to the Secretary of State to find out what the law is. I did learn that the law regarding hybrid meetings was that they were really set up at the beginning of this process of COVID so that board members and the governing body were able to continue business. They were able to meet remotely. That's not something that has been allowed before, so that's really what it was designed to do. It has morphed into the public using it as a way to participate, but the law does not actually guarantee the public this type of setting. With that being said, and what I learned from that was that my next step was to contact the local legislators, and I'm working on maybe testifying and working on some legislation that will make hybrid meetings actually law, because I believe that regardless of COVID or regardless of any of this, I think it's a really great tool. I think that it encourages participation, but the way the law reads right now, there's nothing more I can say about it than the law does not require you to do that, because I talked to the Secretary of State, that's what they said.
So,
With that being said, so the discussion about the ARPA and where we're holding a regular meeting, that was one of the things that the ARPA committee said at the last meeting, and it'll be talked about under that other new business section, is that it really is up to the board to decide where they want to have a meeting space first. I think the fire department's adequate. I think that it's a great space. I think that you could have permanent equipment there to hold hybrid meetings. I'm not in favor of doing just hybrid meetings. I like the in-person and hybrid. And then the only other thing I wanted to address is that I'm not sure that the information about that the ARPA committee is the only committee being allowed in the Institute. When we go in there, there's Zumba classes going on when we get there. We held the Economic Development Committee meeting the other night, and I usually attend in person. I was a close contact for COVID, so I attended remotely and still could participate. So I don't think I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that I had checked into the law. Some of the things I was upset about, I was wrong about. That made me take the next step to talk to local legislators to see how the law can be changed, but that's a long process that's not happening right now. So I just wanted to address the couple comments that were made, because clearly a lot of it was directed towards my outburst, I'll call it, last week or 2 weeks ago. So thank you, and I will stick around for the ARPA discussion.
thank you, Cynthia,
Thanks.
very much. Are there any other comments on these several matters? Anything from online?
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, John?
Sorry, John Jones. Chief, could you hear me?
Yeah.
Chief, I got a question, because I got a couple of the committees. I don't want to put you on the spot. Think about it. I know the space is tight and you have operations, but maybe think about other committees doing their business at the firehouse, if that could be done. And it's nothing I need an answer on now, but just wanted to put it out there for your consideration.
We did discuss that at our last Financial Committee meeting, and I won't speak for the Financial Committee, but the firehouse is used on a daily basis. So I guess the number of meetings over and above what the fire service needs may be a problem for the space that we've got to utilize right now. We've had 44 calls so far this month, so this is a busy place. And meetings cannot interrupt what we do here for the community and outlying communities. So that is a discussion that the Prevention Committee and myself and the other officers have had. We don't have a good answer for it as of yet.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Chief, for your feedback on that. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Chief. Any further comments on our initial discussion before we move forward? Okay, seeing none, let's move, and thank you everyone for your comments. Now moving forward to unfinished business. Hartley Hill Road, the quick claim deed update. Fletcher Proctor.
Did you give them copies of the update?
Yeah.
I did, okay. And if you look at that thing, what it does is ties each one of the parcels that abut what's called the private section of Hartley Hill Road into the deed that would transfer ownership to the town. So it's real clear which parcels actually abut the road. I mean, there's like 20 parcels up there in that subdivision, but Only 9 of them actually abut the road, and they're defined in 7 deeds. So what I did was broke out the boundaries so that it ties to each of the adjoining parcels. Because I realized that the survey that I was looking at wasn't the same as the one that's in the vault over at the town hall. The one in the vault is a preliminary one, so it didn't have all the information on it. And I was looking at one that Southern Vermont Engineering had given me, so when I realized that you couldn't tie it together with the information in the vault, I went back and tied in each one of the deeds. So I think it's as clear as it can be what the property is and, where the boundaries are. So hopefully, if that ends up being what Mr. Sosmo is happy signing, and you guys give us the green light, we should be in a position to make this happen. But I don't know if you've heard back from Mr. Slason?
I have not.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Town Manager.
Just wondering, when was the last survey, the date of the road and properties?
Oh, I think it's on there.
1978,
Oh, yeah, that's the subdivision survey that subdivided Brentwood Hill, and that's the thing that defines it all. Which means, because it's an old survey, it doesn't actually have to be recorded. And the quality of the copies that Southern Vermont Engineering gave me, I don't think you could turn into monologues. They're too muddy. I mean, you can see everything, but there's a lot of background sort of haze, so I think they'd be a mess.
So a new survey would have to be done.
I don't know that a new survey, maybe just a survey of the road, but it should be pretty simple. All the boundary, all the meets and bounds are there, the distances and arrows are all in. Just gotta, update it from 78 to current values.
Are we gonna hear back from our attorney by next meeting?
You gave him 30 days.
I'm gonna say, I was looking at the minutes, I saw that.
And that's only 28 days, so, from 2 weeks ago to 2 weeks hence, it's only 28 days. So you still got 2 days.
We'll hold a special meeting, try to. Be nice to resolve this once and for all.
This thing has been hanging out here
Oh.
like a sore thumb for 30 years, easy, Well, it wasn't, in 78, nobody thought much about it, but pretty much by 90, it had become a problem.
Yeah.
I did drive over that road a couple times since your last meeting. I don't think it's in that bad shape. Frankly, the downhill side, which is a town road, the north side of it's way worse than the flat part through the farm. But the culvert that got put in up there is definitely inadequate. That would be a problem. And it looked to me that there's some trees along the way that if I were the foreman of the road crew, I'd want to cut back.
Yes.
The road does not currently meet any criteria for a state road. So before you take it over, you want to have a state engineer look at it and decide what our liability is by taking this road over without doing some serious repairs. But right now it's private, so we just drive through there.
As I said at the last meeting, getting the land and taking over a road are two different things.
Right.
You can own the land and you cannot
Well,
declare
I'm
it to
saying,
be a
unfortunately, we
public
might
road.
have to if we take it over, we might have to close it as soon as we take it over, until we can repair it and make it right.
I don't know, it changes the situation any from Butchie owning it now.
Well, somebody else, we don't have the liability, just like us going and having a party in your backyard versus having a party in my backyard. I just would have it in yours.
But yes.
I'm just saying.
I'll invite you over.
No.
Well, as I say, I drove over it a couple of times and I didn't feel any huge risk when I did, but
Well,
I'm sure it's.
Well, no,
standards
well,
are
it's-
state standards, but.
right.
I don't think we know what liability is, because if somebody was to get in an accident on it, blame the town for not taking care of the road, and we'd say it's not our road.
Or you say,
Wait a minute,
you got the signs right now, not open to through traffic.
Yeah.
Which I wildly ignored when I drove through,
Yeah.
but, you know, you put up those signs and somebody wants to drive out there, they're sort of assuming the risk.
Very good. Any additional comment online? General public? Members of the board? Okay, so we will await our legal reply from our attorney,
Thank you very much.
your other opponent. Thank you, sir, as always. Okay, moving on to town update.
Town meeting update, in front of you, and I would like you to sign it. Again, it's now refreshed, it's, the dates are correct, and Susan was missing when you signed it the first time, so it would be clearer and neater if we could do that again. Nothing has changed in the figures, it's just the base and these dates.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and accept the warning for the annual meeting and go ahead and post it for April 30th, 2022.
Motion has been made by Craig Allen to move ahead to post the announcement for town meeting for April 30th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Motion is moved and so seconded. Is there any discussion on this matter? From the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the roll. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So adopted.
Thank you.
Yeah, Brandon.
Can I still make a request to the board?
Sure.
My daughter's trying to get on Zoom, but she's been unable to do it, so she asked me to ask this question. So I would ask the board to review the contract with NIMRIC and the rising costs over the last number of years and consider whether the arrangement is working out well for the town.
Okay, I mean, that's something we could entertain under other business. Yes.
Kaden from online wants to ask a question.
It's not Kaden.
Hey, welcome. Sorry for the difficulty. Normally this would be under other business. Press for time or? Hello? You there?
So just so you guys know, with the way that I think it might be because of the room that you're in, but all you can really hear through the Zoom is all the background noise is extremely loud, and I can like hear a little bit of like what you're saying, but pretty much missing it all. So I might have spoken up during the public comment, but I didn't actually even hear that that's what you said. All I heard was public. Every like chair move, every paper slide is like super loud, but I can't hear what you guys are actually saying. So the questions around NIMRIC were based on the fact that the contract was originally, it seems started in 2015. However, there's no other contract since then that has been, I guess that I had access to. I requested the NIMRIC information. I was given a 2015 contract that we signed with them, and 2021 contract, including Darlene's section of it, and then an expense report for 2021, 2022, and 2023. But I just found it a little bit odd that there was no expense report for the other 6 years or any, we'd never readdressed it, I guess, on whether or not they were meeting our needs or if this contract made sense for the town. The contract was originally signed on $20,000. However, it seems that in 2021, we shelled out over $43,000. So I guess I'm just wondering when that increase might have happened, if this was a matter of inflation or if there's just other amendments that were made to that contract that allotted them that extra $23,000 that just wasn't included in the documents I was sent. So that was kind of my question, was if this was something that the board could maybe clear up or look into going forward.
Absolutely. Would it be burdensome though, and again, I apologize for you not having access till this moment and the poor ability to listen. I had that happen to me in another meeting. I just want to make sure that we're staying along with the agenda. And we could pivot this, definitely, it's already in the record, to other business, which would occur after the manager's report and the commission's report. Can you be available to stay till that time? But either way, okay, great. So we will move everything that you just formatted regarding NEMRIC contract relationship to other business, and then proceed with the remainder of the agenda and come up to that later on in the meeting. Is that okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, town meeting, moving on from town meeting, we're now on the draft audit and scheduled deficiencies.
So in your packet, you have now the audit and the shortened version of our deficiencies that need to be posted and taken care of. We do have some others that we are going to have to work on when Paul gets back, with Paul, Darlene, and probably myself, to look at the other ones, such as a fraud policy. VLCT has that one. I didn't print it again for you. You recorded all that. The draft audit papers, but we do have some, but when Paul gets back, we'll be addressing them and we'll be coming back to you as with answers and more data to how we're going to take care of the other ones. But in your audit, like I said, Paul and I had did these, and we put a letter in how we're going to take care of these last two.
Okay.
All right.
Any comments, input?
I think,
Sue, sorry, Darrell. Sue, go ahead.
okay, I think we should set a deadline for when that be accomplished.
It's a very wise recommendation. But I wanted to get Darlene in as we move on. So deadline has been put to the discussion. Darlene?
So my question is regarding the property tax reconciliation material weakness. The deficiency isn't looking at the bills and making sure what's billed to residents. It's making sure it's that ACH issue that happened last year. That's the part saying is making sure the collection of property tax billing would be correct. Or it's incorrect, so it's not just the piece of looking and at the tax book, it's also making sure the reconciliation of collections is also happening. So I just want to, but there's two parts to that, not just the bills.
Thank you.
Since this wasn't in our package, this was sent to us, Russ. What we're discussing is these 4 pages, because there was quite a few issues on it. Is that correct?
There was, and some of them were addressed.
But you're gonna come back.
And we're gonna come back with the
I was
others.
gonna say, because I've never seen all the years I've been here, that much detailed criticism of what we're doing.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
On it. And it's not one person, it's just the whole, including the select board. It doesn't look like we're not doing our job. So I brought it with me, but that's what I was.
Yeah. Some of them are being managed with our financial manual.
Yeah.
Some of them are a discussion we're gonna have for delinquent taxes and how you're going to address those in the budget for the following year. So again, we'll come back with all of our recommendations.
Like I said, I actually applaud him for coming back, because some of this stuff has been here for not just a year, it's been going on for quite a while. This is the first time we've been basically criticized for doing it that way, and good criticism. You're reading it wrong, you're right, we're not double checking
You've
this.
had management pointed your audit before, and
Yes, that's what I agree with you. In fact, I think deficiencies, since I've been on the board for 4 years, and before that, have been evidenced in their report every single year.
Your weaknesses are
Yeah.
significant.
Yes.
Just as more detail is what I've ever.
Because I think you had a more complete audit, you usually don't get all these comments, so you have to look, go through your book. Material weaknesses are very, very important points in an audit.
Absolutely.
That the school is trying to get.
Yes. So I think Sue Harlow's, let's pivot back to her putting us on notice to get this deadline to make sure we've cobbled together everything that we're supposed to do to hopefully meet and cure these deficiencies, or at least have addressed them.
What is a reasonable deadline, would you say?
When it's fall.
I have no idea. Well, I'll give you this number.
Okay. Well, as soon as he comes back, it should be the next meeting after he comes back. So it shouldn't be long, that's for sure.
Okay. So we will set a deadline as soon as we have the treasurer return to us and we can discuss how to proceed. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there any more comments from the public on the audit? Or I should say additional comments from the public on the draft audit and the schedule of deficiencies presented by Sullivan and Powers? Okay, thank you all. Seeing none, we will now move on to the July 29, 2021 storm update.
So at this point, we have finished completely 2 of our projects out of 9. They have been submitted. One is in the last final steps before payment to the state of Vermont. The other one is now started through the process of FEMA's multiple areas. We have already started areas 3 and 4, and area 4 is going to be considered a large project that will delay it until roughly the end of our rest of our projects coming through, and it's because of the amount of money that we have grouped into this. It's Hartley Hill, Henwood, and Covered Bridge Road together, costing about $174,000. At that point, we want to get that one in so it can start the process to try to make it follow through as quickly as possible, but that one will be delayed. But we'll have 3 in by the end of the middle of February. So it's going very, very well. Very favorable.
Thank you, Russell. Any comments from the public? Online?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
John Jones here. I had a question for the town manager on this. Is there a way to, it doesn't have to be much, capture the projects, what we've got into them, what our anticipated monies from FEMA and others are, so that we can see this as the public?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. That was my question, and thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else online from the owl? Okay. Seeing none, thank you everyone for your comments. Moving on, quarterly financials ending December 31st, 2021.
This was given to you last meeting. This was put on again, just if you had any comments or Questions? So it was tabled from last meeting, that's all.
Members of the board?
I do have a question.
Yes, Sue Harlow.
What is this, under culverts, put a note 10,000, is that what you mean? Nothing?
Those are my notes from a meeting that we had to figure out how we're going to pay for the USDA.
So it's not relevant to that?
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
That's the only one I had was my copy, and
No,
that's
that's
where my
fine,
names on it in
I'm
front
just
of me.
curious, yeah.
So that's all three of your notes. Because
Excuse
before
me?
that, you got 15 and 5, there's 3 different notes, and that's why I was wondering what they were.
That was our portion of covering our USDA loan, if we so choose.
Comments, observations? Yes, Katrina?
So, looking through that, there's no, the state provides aid, I believe it's yearly, correct me if I'm wrong, based on your class 2 and 3 and 4 roads. And I believe Westminster gets like $166,000 or something like that. There's no line item anywhere that says state aid. Where, for highways, would.
It's on the revenue report,
It's on
which
the
you
revenue
don't, which you don't have here.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just would like some clarification from the board, what my role for reporting financial information to you. You had asked me to come and report it. I'm just confused. What are you expecting from Nemrick at these meetings? Because what's provided by Russ is not coming from me. So I'm confused what our role and what the board is expecting from us at Nemrick, because exactly that, I would produce both the revenue and expenditure, not just the expenditures to you. I think you need the balance sheet to understand the cash position of the town. But I understood that was what you wanted of me when I came to the second meeting of the month, but that's not what's happening. Because if not, then that's fine. It's not clear, and I'm confused when I need to provide. There's no communication. Once I leave these meetings, nothing is communicated to me at all. So what are you expecting from us? And are you fine with what Russ is giving you? And I don't need to be here to go over those. I'm just confused what you're expecting from our services.
Yes, Susan?
So the information at I think it was the last meeting we were at, that you brought, and that was very useful. So you either would like us to ask you specifically to be at the meeting, or have it be a regular thing, you show up this second meeting and provide us that information in our packet ahead of time? So you need specific requests for that?
Well, I just need to know, is that how we want to proceed with financials, or are we going just with Russ providing you information like you've gotten in the past? Because I didn't know, so I came tonight not knowing. Are you expecting a written report from me like I had been giving? You were given financials last meeting. I wasn't, I was listening, but I wasn't here to participate as a member contract, so I just don't know. I feel like there's no communication, so I'm not clear what you're expecting from us. I go do the normal stuff. I do have a list of items that I've done, because you have asked that of me, to report back what I've done in a period of time for the town, so I can explain that. But I'm unclear what you're expecting from them, or if anything.
Good question.
Well, the information that you provided, I think it wasn't the last meeting, it was, I believe it was the last meeting I was at.
It was in December.
Right,
Yep.
I mean, that was useful, so.
Very much so.
I mean, I would suggest that at least one meeting of the month that you provide that information, but get it into our packets ahead of time, so we can look at it and then ask you questions instead of bringing it to the, now that would be useful to me, the rest of you, I don't know, whatever you want, but,
I was, even when you hand me this, is right, many times as I've looked at it, it just really doesn't give me a picture where we act without the revenue, I agree with you. And what I see in all this criticism is it needs to have another set of eyes, putting them together to come back to us and says, you know, and I guess what I want, somebody like you to come in and say, yeah, I want to alert you that you've gone over on this one and you're heading this direction. We see this, but we really don't have time to digest it, and this, you know, we ask a few questions, that's it, but we don't, I feel more comfortable if we can sit down and come to some kind of agreement, a format that you would lay out, whether you brought it or sent it to us, that, hey, I feel comfortable that your company looked at the revenue and the expense and put together this, and this is where we should be. To me, it's important if we keep doing it, then we can compare it each year as we go along. So next year I can sit there and look at, well, last year this is where the numbers were, and now it looks like it's the same. So if we ever get into trouble, we know we're heading that way again. I don't know exactly the format. I just know that.
It seemed like from my perspective, you understood, not that you don't understand this, I'm not saying this way, I mean, you seemed to engage more when it was written out.
Yes.
Where I said, we are at this percent of your budget, I see this line over, I see this line under, this is how much cash you have. You engaged more than just getting that report, because none of you asked one question.
Yeah.
But you did when the written, so I'm just not clear, and so this is some clarity around what you're expecting from us at NEMRA. And then, hold on, I'm old. I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So, and then like tonight, I have a list and I wanted to share with you what I've been doing over the months. You understand what NEMRIC's been doing since the last time I was in the meeting reporting to you, so I could give you that information. I also prepared a little schedule of your fund balances because I wasn't sure when town meeting, and I wanted you to be prepared in case you were asked at town meeting. So I did prepare a summary of all your different funds and where their fund balances sit as of December 31st, because I think that's important to know if your deficit spending somewhere or if you're doing all right. So that, but I didn't know what you wanted, so I just brought it with me to get some clarity around this. And the other thing that I really need clarity around is separating out the highway fund. Did you say yes, no? I know that you don't, sounded like you didn't want to do it till the new year, but that's coming fast and we need to do some work on our end to prepare that. So I never heard a final answer from you. Is that something you want to pursue for fiscal year 23, separating out that highway fund?
I think we're all in agreement on that one. I guess to put it together, well, I was expecting you to come back with questions on how we want it to lay out, but I expect that that's where we're going. If we get closer there, we could get a draft of what it's going to look like, and we can come to agreement.
Okay.
Yes, I think we all would agree that we're going to separate the highway on the report, so we can understand it.
Do we have a rough estimate on how much that's gonna cost?
I can ask tomorrow. I don't know. I don't do that part of it. That's programming, so I will check with the programming side. So do you want me to give you a brief of what I've been doing for our contract? No. So I processed your payroll and accounts payable while Paul's been out of town. I prepared your 941s, all your state quarterly reports and your Beamer's quarterly reporting that have to be done by the end of this month. proofed your W-2s, processed them, printed them, ran your 1099s. The majority of your vendors were set up incorrectly. The federal law changed last year, and the form changed to an NEC versus a miscellaneous. You had them classified in the wrong category. I showed Kelly how to change those, and we corrected those, and hopefully tomorrow I can print them. We're still missing some EINs. Reconciled bank accounts. I talked to Russ about the segregation of cash posting. I shouldn't be posting your cash and reconciling your bank recs, so you need someone else to be posting cash. He said Paul will do it. I caution you that with Paul being out of town, that you're not gonna have revenues booked in a timely manner. And then you have some old Labor Department reports that have not been filed since 2020. You are getting penalized for that, so tomorrow I'm going to reach out to the Department of Labor and see about getting those filed so you no longer get that $100 fine. I don't know if it's every month or once a month, so those were not filed in 2020.
Is that everything?
So far.
Very thorough as always. Do you have are there any comments from the board, further comments for Darlene and her report? Okay, I would like to address off what Craig had said. So I really appreciate the taxpayer also all your effort. This began with trying to build a nucleus around a financial manual, a manual that would, so for everyone's here tonight and online, a manual that would provide several items. Number one, a consistent, easy, clear, concise understanding for all board members that came and went of how the general budget was enabled, spent, and where monies were. Also to make sure that our town manager, who is our primary person responsible for most things that go on in town hall, is fully enabled, understands the process, and can move with efficiency and transparency and speed when necessary to make sure that we are applying not just accounting rules, but also following rules as we're supposed to be under the Vermont Code when handling the people's money. We have utilized Darlene, who's been a terrific asset, to come in and provide specifics as to how we may improve certain deficiencies and look at certain deficiencies. We have and this is mission critical with our treasurer. And the treasurer is an elected official. And there has been discussion, so everyone's just aware of it, as to whether an elected official treasurer in the modern world, because that person is elected, has enough financial background to handle a treasurer position. Clearly, the gentleman we have right now is an extraordinary person. He's done so much for the town. He has tremendous experience running town government. We've been fortunate to have him. But the issue has become over how much specific capability or applicable knowledge someone has in finance, maybe even accounting. That does not necessarily translate into someone who's running for office, right? That's not one of the prerequisites. So we have something else that we've been discussing, which is a financial officer, which we understand is something that other people have utilized. So I just wanted to be clear that when we get to the bottom of this, the ultimate objective is to have that manual in place. Our town treasurer, who may or may not have substantial expertise or prior training in finance and accounting, but also somebody that is under the financial officer, if we choose to go that route, the ability to be a third pair of eyes on everything to help our town manager execute cleanly, efficiently, and transparently everything, so that people know what we spent, when we spent it, how we spent it, and we were doing it the right way. And that way we can address what our auditor had set up. I hope that's a pretty good synopsis. I think it is. If I left anything out, I'm sorry. We are now in the middle of that process and hopefully coming to modeling the end of it soon, maybe within the next 60 days. But I want to thank everybody who has made a commitment to do that. In the end, that's where we want to be. The main issue as to whether or not we can have a non-elected treasurer or an appointed treasurer, that's probably the last discussion we will have. But I think I've covered everything that's pretty much been what we're looking to accomplish here. There's an old adage, who watches the watchman? Right?
You need segregation of duties.
Yeah, exactly.
Key. That's key in the financial world.
Right, and in finance, when you're handling money, that has to be not just 1, 2, usually 3, and even 4 layers above to watch out, which I've never seen malfeasance, but also make sure we're competently executing and meeting our legal requirements, which are moving target. Sorry for being so verbose. Are there any other comments? Yes, Chuck.
Can I back up? So, did you say the state aid goes into the general fund? So our state highway aid, did you say that got put into the general fund?
State aid goes on to the revenue sheet, that's all I said.
Okay. Which
It doesn't go in your general fund because you don't have a highway fund.
So that's what you said. So then where's it go from there?
To our projects that we do for roads.
Okay, so that brings back the comment to using the money toward the grant out of that money. Is what you said, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, because you can use those funds, portion of those funds to pay for your matching funds for the grant.
Can they be matched with federal grant?
Yeah. I believe so.
State aid to highway, yeah.
Can you use them for a match for a federally funded project?
She's shaking her head now.
Your state aid highway money go right to your highway, like the roads and all that. You don't fund out your highway here
They
separately.
could be used for a grant match though. Your state aid money can be used for a federal grant match for.
It is that I believe so. The state aid highway can be used for a federal grant, even though it's federal money passing through the state, isn't it?
I think what Mr. Lawrence is addressing, thanks for bringing it up, is Title 19, Vermont statute, section 306, which is the appropriations of state aid for town highways, correct?
Yes.
And to make sure that when we're utilizing these funds, they're being utilized in accordance with that statute?
Correct.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's your opinion that they are?
oh yeah.
Okay.
You don't get enough state aid to highway you get 100 and, I don't.
166,000.
Yeah, you're spending that, no problem on your highway.
I agree.
Okay. Okay,
But
good point.
You can't see it in your financials clearly because you don't fund it separately. It's all part of your general fund in this town. In other towns where the highway is a separate entity or department all by itself, it's very clear that what that fund balance is and what all of that money is. You can't clearly see that here. You have to drill down and pick out and do separate spreadsheets in Excel to do that. Can we do that? That's what we were just talking about.
That's what I thought.
Yes. Yep, we're shooting for that for 23, after we tell Russ how much it would cost to separate out those examples.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you,
So
everybody.
could I just make one other comment?
Please, go
As, whether Paul chooses to run again, I love working with Paul, and he admits that he is not a finance person, 100%, and he does great at what he does. But anyone that chooses, this is not a 4 or 5 hour job. It really is not. When you're a finance person, you have a lot of obligation, quarterly reporting, monthly reporting, budget, revenues coming in, accounting of, double checking accounts payable, payroll. So just to be clear to the public or anyone else, this is more than just a 4 or 5 hour a month job for anyone.
Thank you. Any comments from anyone online? Okay, thank you all for comments and input. We will then move on to the ARPA committee recommendations, of which there are 3.
Cynthia, do you want to take this?
I can, Russ, if you want me to, but I'm fine. You know what we were doing, and it was the stuff that came from you. It's up to you. You let me know what you want me to do.
Okay, I have it in front of me, I don't know if you do. So the first one that you have in your packet is for the mobile enhancement of our meetings, of our hybrid meetings. It resembles other towns that have meeting spaces that they're permanently in. It has TV stands, it has TVs. There's 2 different companies here that are adding service to this, and the total is $9,558.73 in today's market. It went in front of the ARPA committee, and enhancing our meetings and having the ability to be mobile is key, and so they have recommended that this is a viable request, and so they've asked me to bring it in front of you.
Kevin, Russ, I don't mean to interrupt you, but can I just give a little background first to the group that's there so they understand the process that we went through to get to this point? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just so everyone knows, we've met 3 times, I think, and the discussions that we had related around wanting to make sure that government services were covered first. The needs of government services were covered first under the guidelines that the ARPA committee could use, that the federal government gave us, and not put it out yet to everybody to say, do you have a project that you want us to do? So we had asked Russ to go to all of the different, we called them department heads, basically is what we said. So we asked him to go to Chuck. We asked him to go to Cole as the fire chief. We asked him to talk to his own office staff. And was there anything that they needed immediately that they didn't have funds for, that, that they could use this money before we offer it to the public discussion? So he came back to us with a few things. The ones that he's presenting tonight, the fire department gave us also another request for a generator, which had positive feedback from the board. We didn't go further with it this time, but we'll discuss it again. I don't know I can't remember if we said that we were gonna see if we could get more clear, or if we could get an actual final number. It was a range. I just wanted the public to know that the process that we used was, let's make sure that our government services are covered first before we put it out to other entities. So that's kind of where we're at, and that's why these are coming. The last meeting we asked, we recommended the digitization project for the town clerk. That's already been approved by the select board, and I believe she's gone ahead with starting that project. So just wanted to give the background as to how we got to this point.
Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, comments?
Looks like Cassandra might want to say something.
Please.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. I guess I was just wondering if it was ever discussed to then take those projects as a public vote.
I can, do you want me to address that, Kevin?
Sure.
These particular ones, we did not, Cassandra, but just so you know, we're not going to move any further as a committee until we have a public meeting, which we decided to hold after, I think it was town meeting. We're going to hold it after town meeting because we were going to be able to tell people when that public meeting will be. And that will be like a brainstorming public meeting, you know, and try to figure out what the town wants to use this money for.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just wasn't sure if you had created some type of public forum yet, but that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, the other thing we want to do is put out a survey on the website so that people can start putting some information in the survey of what they would like to see this money go for.
Yep. Sounds like a good idea. All right, thank you.
Thank you, both. Yes, Sue, Harlow.
I have a question about the, community TV, the mobile meeting equipment. And I know that you went over the Institute and checked that out, but I'm assuming that this would be mobile to any place.
That's correct.
Because we haven't really discussed this with the Institute board yet.
That's correct.
Right.
That's why it's mobile, and because we are bouncing around right now. Not to say that any of this equipment can't be made permanent once a spot has been determined to be it.
Looks like John Jones might want to speak.
Mr. Jones, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to circle back. Cassandra, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so one thing that's kind of changed, and Cynthia can jump in. We got an interim final rule that kicks in on April 1st, and that has also made us pump the brakes because we're now learning some new things and what we can do to replace revenue loss in town. So I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody so they're aware what's kind of going on. And Cynthia, jump in if you.
I can jump in. It's going to get a little lengthy. Do you guys want to talk about that right now? I mean, just let me try to give a quick overview.
Yeah.
So sorry, my husband muted me. The final rule basically states, prior to the final rule, there was a calculation that towns could do to prove that they lost revenue due to COVID, whatever we want to call it. It was a very complicated calculation. I calculated it for the town of Westminster and several other towns. Barely anybody showed revenue loss under this rule. The final rule has given the latitude to use a minimum allowance of $10 million. They're saying if you had under $10 million or you received under $10 million of ARPA money, you can automatically claim lost revenue, which allows you to put the money into your operating fund to cover general government expenses. So basically what that means for most towns is you're going to end up with an enormous surplus, which then becomes unrestricted, and the rules are much less stringent on what we can use that money for. So when John says we're kind of pumping the brakes, you can still approve these other smaller things if the board believes that they want to spend the money on that. You can decide not to right now and hold off to see what is going to happen with this. It's very new. The league is working closely with us, with some CPA firms, with Treasury, federal Treasury, to make sure that we are right about this, because it feels a little bit like a huge gift that might later come with some strings we don't understand. But it does change the game, because it does then allow you to use the money for things that we don't have really a lot of. We have to make the rules up. It's not going to be federal rule anymore. So it's a huge change. But that's what came, but I think it came out maybe 2 weeks ago. So I don't know what that does tonight. I also do want to just make it clear that the ARPA committee has no stake in where the select board decides that their final regular meeting places. The Institute has been discussed as just a committee member brought up the Institute, but we have no, personally, I just want the board to pick a space so we know what it is. We have, the ARPA committee has no stake in where the select board meets. It's up to you guys. But to have the tools to be able to do it was important. So is that, if anybody has any questions about that final rule, I can try to answer it as best I can.
I thought that made pretty good sense as to why you guys would be quote unquote pumping the brakes. As to the location of the meeting, I think that the Institute makes sense as an option, but I kind of came to the epiphany the other day that I thought the above the town hall also makes a lot of sense in moving those historical items to a different location and having the town hall be the, you know, the town hall. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments on this issue? Obviously, the changing in potential change in, as Cynthia mentioned, is probably something we want to look at when you get more clarity on it. I could be wrong, but I thought I heard from both Cynthia and John Jones that there would be more clarity forthcoming. Was I wrong in that interpretation?
It's on the agenda to discuss next
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
Just brand new information that we just got.
So, any other questions, comments, input? Okay.
So in front of you, you have a recommendation. Are you ready to vote on that, or you want to wait?
Can you walk me through which page you're looking at?
Well, that's the question, right? If we have a change, hold on,
It's
if
the
we have
one that has the Falls Community.
I got it. I just want to say, if we have a change in the, if I understood Cynthia correctly, there's a, this potential change would give us more latitude to make decisions with more likelihood of being able to use, when we make a decision, the likelihood of us hitting the target, so to speak, to make sure that the money will be approved for that expenditure is greater if we wait to see what this new evolutionary rule is. That's what I heard.
So let me just say, I believe that the recommendation will be for, not from me, I'm talking just statewide in the discussions that are going on, that that it will make the most sense to use this lost revenue as your reporting to the federal government on how you used your ARPA money. But we have also been talking to people who are going to continue the process as they are doing it right now and recommending projects that would have fallen under the old guidelines, the expenditure category guidelines that are laid out in the guidance, because you can't go wrong even if you do that. The other part of it's just going to be a paper move. So like if all of a sudden, so let me use the generator at the fire department as an example. If that's something that they wanted to do before you decide we're doing the lost revenue, then I wouldn't want you guys not to do that because we're going to do this, because on paper we can make it work and the reporting to the federal government will be what it needs to be. So you don't need to wait to decide if you're doing the lost revenue to decide on some of these projects, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't, Because if you guys need certain things to operate, then you go ahead, you know there's money there. The balance of it will be used towards lost revenue,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
It's
That's right.
really hard to explain because I understand it about 50% right now.
Understood.
Okay, so I mean, if something really important comes up that falls in guidelines of ARPA as they stand right now, I don't know if I would hold off, but that's up to you guys. I mean, that's.
Okay, no, but I was present at the ARPA meeting, and the confidence, though, of us on these three is very high, correct?
That was the sense I got from the group, yes.
But you did also just say that for some reason, again, I don't want to put words in your mouth ever, that you thought we should wait on the fire.
No, I mean, well, we didn't recommend that from that last meeting, the generator, you mean? I would pump the brakes on opening it up to everybody else to come to you guys for money. That's what I'm talking about, like other organizations, talking about water and sewer infrastructure, all of that. Pump the brakes on those bigger things right now, because we may have latitude to do things that we couldn't before under the new guideline that are bigger, more broad projects.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
We're gonna have somebody that's more of an expert than me coming to our meeting and saying, you know, I know the league is gonna be having some webinars on this and stuff too. So I certainly don't know. Like I said, I'm at 50% right now.
Okay, thank you. Any member of the board, questions, further inquiry?
And we're
Sue, yes.
Are we gonna be voting on all three of these or one at a time?
One at a time.
One at a time.
One at a time. Anyone else online? Anyone from present? Okay, so
So Craig, back to your question. It's the one with falls?
We've got three.
Yeah, it's the one
Right.
that's correct. Okay?
I can tell you, I'll go along with it, but her 50%, I know 50% of what she knows. That means I know 25% of what she just said. That's all I know. But it seems reasonable, so let's go for it.
anyone else? We are addressing the mobile media.
Sure.
And just to be clear, before we make the final vote for everyone here in the public, this would be utilized exactly how? This equipment.
This equipment can be used for all meetings that the town has, if they choose to go to a hybrid system. It will be town owned, so of course the fire department would be able to use it. So it will be used. It will be not just sitting in a closet somewhere.
Well, that was my other question. This is quite a bit of equipment. Will be secured where?
At the town hall to start with.
Okay.
But hopefully when and if we get a permanent temporary location.
There's 3 TVs. I mean, you'd only have one here.
No, you'd have, so that you can see all, there wouldn't be a bad seat now. So that you folks can see the monitor, so you can see who's speaking, and you'll be able to, the chair will be able to recognize that raised hand. And it's also for even possibly the town meeting.
Okay. Okay. Any questions? Yes, June Streeter.
If you, as a board, vote yes on this stuff, how soon before we get it?
All of it is in stock.
So the money will be released to you as soon as you guys say yay or nay?
The money is already in our.
And then you order it and then, okay, thank you.
In time for us to watch the Super Bowl on it, June. Okay, are we good? Can we vote? All right. All those in favor of the ARPA fund request for,
What you need, something
Mobile
to prove
media.
it. You need something.
my apologies, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the ARPA fund request for executive department for, what do you want to call this?
Mobile media.
Mobile media, for a total of $9,558.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Mobile media, 9,558 is approved. 73, sorry. Second one, Mr. Town Manager.
The second one is two different prices, two different ways to get this. Same item. It is a iPad for you folks. Instead of having paper in front of you like you do, you would have a small screen in front of you where you could scroll through documents such as the request tonight or a document that was passed to you at last meeting that would be at your fingertips. You'd be able to scroll back, see minutes, see past documents that could have relevance into a discussion for your decision moving forward. So many, I shouldn't say all, many are doing this for the convenience. And also that would lead us into creating email addresses for each one of you through the town, not your personal ones. So right now I'm sending everything to your personal emails, and it should be to a town email designated for yourself.
But we're only choosing one.
It's one or the other, yes.
Should we, go ahead.
No, you can finish.
Well, I'm just curious, there's no normally you come to us with a recommendation, but on the other hand, if we move for the higher amount to not exceed, then you guys can choose which one you want.
It should have been cleared before you voted on the first one, that such as Pauline did, she came in with a $20,000 request, knowing that probably she's going to be only in the 18,000. All she's going to get allocated is what she spends. That's the same here. If you rounded it to say $5,000, only what we spend in shipping and actually getting the product is what is going to be allocated.
So to be clear, these devices would be distributed to current serving members of the select board?
That's correct.
And these would be something that during their term, they would be issued, come here, and then bring that with them, and then take that with them?
That's correct. It would be in your possession.
And if we, just because I'm an old corporate guy with this type of stuff, and if we made proper, assuming that this is even voted on, have we made proper plans in the event of loss, that these going to be insured for loss and damage, since they're going to be moving to and from, because human beings are what they are?
There's 3-year Apple Care on both of them.
Does that include replacement for loss?
For normal wear and tear, not if you ran over it.
Or if someone lost it?
Lost isn't going to be covered. It's Apple Care.
Do they have a plan for that, or no? Is there, or would our general insurance cover that?
And our general insurance would cover it.
Okay, just want to make sure.
The second option is with a keypad, and that is the difference between the main difference between the two. The keypad actually acts as a cover, such as a laptop. The keypad is the base, and they'll come together, and it protects the screen in travel, keeps it dust-free. And it's...
Is there any maintenance? I mean, I already own a couple of them, but the problem is it's still software. Somebody's we got something in here where if we need to update it or somebody's taking care of it, because at work, I hand it to the IT guy and they take care of it and hand it back to you.
Talking to our IT people, that's Vermont TCC Tech, these are very basic units. You guys are not going to be doing, major documents in here. I'm literally going to bring them to you through the internet, and you're going to be viewing them. It's not like you're going to create worksheets out of this iPad. It's strictly going to be for you to hold your documents, categorize them for yourselves, and then be able to scroll through them instead of getting 2.5 trees a year.
So we're going paperless ultimately.
Ultimately, some of it's gonna have to be handed to you, but this will not knock off 95%, and literally, your history and your data will be backed up so that you can scroll through it. And again, just as this request came tonight, you'll be able to scroll back and show you what I had sent you 2 meetings ago. It might have bearance on what you're moving forward to.
Great. Sue Harlan.
Yeah, this is sort of the same thing I'm thinking of, but more in the mobile media and as we acquire more technology. Do we have adequate IT support?
Yes, we do now.
Definitely.
Definitely. We do have very good IT support.
Okay, good. Excellent.
Comments from the general public? Yes.
Do you have a computer policy at the town? So what can be,
Yeah, so we
can
can't let
be
anybody go
searched
home.
on, or what can be?
Yeah, no, we still need to come back, because that was during COVID, because I happen to be reading all the policies. One is that no employee can take a computer home or anything. We're going like, well,
Or restrict
when
what?
COVID-19 is coming,
What?
yeah, so we do need to update it.
I would suggest.
An excellent suggestion.
Town.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, June.
I noticed that there's a request for 7, does that mean Russ and the clerk would be the?
Yes, so I would say the thing for Millie, if she, especially if she's working from home, she'll be able to.
Any comments from our folks online? So I would definitely want to take, as Darlene said, any approval of this, though, before enabling, we should make sure that our policy regarding the governance of these devices is clearly established with the policy. Any objections to that?
Excellent idea.
Okay.
And who takes care of the software? I mean,
Yeah. Well,
is it just the town manager? Can anybody else put information on this for us? You see what I'm saying? So,
It's going to be a very basic unit, so no, it's going to be downloaded from our secure service to these.
There's going to be a program in there where I can look up the categories of 2 months ago. So it's got to be broken in some kind. If I want to see the minutes, if I wanted to see the ARP, anything that's on there, it's got to be stored, or does it get taken off right after so much time?
No, it's going to be stored until you delete it off of the unit. And you'll need to format it so that you can put it in a folder and name the meeting, so that you can scroll back to previous meetings, previous minutes.
Will it have internet access? Yes.
It has to have internet. I was going to say no, but yes, it does have to have, so I can email it to you.
Right, so if it's possible, if we, at some point, when we get our new website, then all the minutes and all the agendas
I guess that's my point. Instead of doing
available.
7 iPads, it would be just a link, and on that link would be all the select person's information, meetings and that, so that when you open it up, I wouldn't have to have just mine, you have yours. You would actually go to a site that's on your thing that has all the minutes.
Should be on our website.
You could do the whole thing with a smart board, just like a school had with one on that wall.
Could,
if you really want.
Yeah.
So at the ARPA meeting, Kevin, I personally don't have any interest in having another screen. Nor do I want the responsibility, but I can lose things and break stuff as it is. It's just my opinion. If we choose as a board to do that, that's fine, but I don't.
I'm
Just
not
one opinion.
I'm not in disagreement with you. I mean, in all those years of how many of these devices, whether it was a BlackBerry or this stuff that was issued for with good intentions, ended up lost for the branch, and then again, access to, as Darlene had said, also where access to the internet has to be, I would think, governed by something like BitLocker or something that keeps us pretty much narrow.
That's where you buy shoes, right? Oh, that's football.
BitLocker. This is it's a secure location that makes sure that the information being supplied to this particular group or cadre is incredibly limited when you're not able to go, like, for example, on Facebook and that type of stuff. You are very narrowly channeled. Yes?
Can I just ask a question?
Please.
Listening to what you're saying, you just voted on ordering a media device, correct? Like a TV or something? Is that basically?
Multiple stuff.
Another owl.
If you have one set up for everyone, why don't you just transfer the files onto that so that everyone can see it in one room?
Great idea.
If they're big TVs.
They're not gonna have them 2, 3, 4 days in advance. I can't utilize the data to them from that unit. They have to have something they can be mobile with.
Can you still have a town email on your own device? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep, it's subject to open records, so any email that you get to your personal email.
No, I totally agree we should have a town email. I'm totally fine with that. I meant on my own device that I have.
Yeah.
Would I be able to get that?
It just opens up your own device to a possible search of public records.
I'm gonna say that's one little thing I've had right there too. It's like, if you're gonna, I'm not taking it back, it didn't come too personal. If you wanted to give it to me at the beginning of the meeting and I have it there and I can see it, instead of giving me papers, I don't have a problem with that.
But like you
But I
said, you
don't
can put that on the screen on that wall and put
Yeah.
screens and it on.
It's just the fact that you can read through it yourself without whatever.
Maybe we want to table this one for another.
A suggestion by Sue, maybe we should just table this one, have a little further discussion on this.
And can I just ask, it might be just premature, but do we have any idea about the life of these machines, the date?
Good question.
What happens when they're outdated and they need to be replaced, if all this information, I'm just thinking about it. Probably after I'm gone, but.
Good question. Perhaps we should table this one and chew this one over.
I was just gonna say in reference to what she said, if it's just files, like text files that you're sending, very small multimedia things like that, it's sort of irrelevant that they're not going to go out of date or out of file or anything like that. I mean, you could still use a computer from 95 to show a text document, you know what I mean? So
They become slow, they become outdated, they become, you can't transfer data.
that's true, but from what I understand, you're only going to be using them for town hall meeting stuff, and if that's the case, you're not going to be watching YouTube videos or anything that would slow them down. So I can't see that happening quickly.
Okay.
I guess we table.
Well, definitely. So are we agreement that we want to table this one, the board give it further consideration? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to hold off on that one because ostensibly that one is for us.
I don't mind getting money, but I don't want to waste money.
Right. Good point. Okay, so we're going to table that one. That leaves us, sir, one more.
The last one is for the highway department. There's two options that Chuck had priced out. Your recommendation is the first one, which is the Samsung Galaxy tablet, recommended for the use on site so that he can document the work that is being processed in front of him. And as we know how important pictures are of work being done before and during and after, this tablet will be just the cat's meow for that. So.
But is the differential though, just to save some time, is the differential here just between the two companies?
One is through Verizon and the other one.
Right, but I'm looking at the price. Is the primary reason of price is one is more expensive than the other? They essentially do the same thing?
Because it's the AT&T versus the Verizon one.
Yeah. Chuck?
So Verizon, the reason that was the first pick is they have better coverage in town. It's for road inventory purposes, Act 64, as you complete projects. Wyndham Regional wants you to immediately, or as soon as possible, upload that to their site so they can keep track of road erosion inventory. And also, if and when we have another FEMA event, it'd be useful to catalog damage so that we could easily come back to it for reimbursement.
And so your choice is number one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you explain the $89 per line? So that's 2 lines, and every month we're gonna pay 89 times 2?
Yes.
Where is
Right, is that right?
Where does that money come from? That's not part of the $1,700.
It is for the first month, but no, not thereafter.
Thereafter, we have to maintain it out of my contracted services
Line.
Well, as long as you know, we're gonna take it out of that wonderful new budget that we're gonna
Oh, yeah,
categorize.
well,
Okay.
I got all kinds of money.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It looks like John Jones wanted to say something.
Yeah, John? John?
The 160?
Yes, Mr. Chair. No, I was actually going to piggyback and Chuck kind of touched on it. Real quick, at Wyndham Regional, they're kind of getting some software together for road foremans throughout the region, and having the hardware devices will allow them to be linked up with everybody. So I just wanted to share that for everybody so they know it's a bigger picture in the county and the state.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, public, online?
I move we approve that request,
Motion to move, approve?
the 1,700,
1796, what he says.
roughly there.
How about we just not to exceed $1,800 in case you run into something? How's that?
Got a motion?
That's a motion.
Second? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? You're all set, sir?
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, and moving right along, let's move on to the Westminster Commerce and Economic and Community Board.
Didn't shorten the name up.
Economic and Community Development, the new Westminster Commerce and Economic and Community Development Board, or Commission, I don't know. Okay.
Commission, board, yeah. Mr. Chair.
Okay. No problem.
So, no, not a problem. So we had our first kickoff meeting. It went well, a lot of collaboration. And what I brought back to the select board was a list of names of people that want to be on the board. A couple feedbacks in the notes there were the planning commission chair wanted flexibility to possibly send another member from their board. I didn't feel it would be a problem because you folks appoint them already. So it's not like we would be bringing a new name into you. So we would be able to establish these folks as members, and then at the next duly warning meeting, we will organize chair, vice chair, clerk. And I wanted to extend it out with the extra position for select board member to attend, or a town manager, and maybe have an alternate in case something happens, just kind of forward thinking. We find ourselves sometimes somebody may drop off. So that's where we are on that for your consideration.
Again, thank you for all your efforts, and thank you for accomplishing all this and bringing us back your intent, also to create the table of the organization, which is essential. And so there's consideration for the town manager to be a part of this committee as well. And are you also saying, John, that you think it's appropriate that a select board member also have a seat there?
I do, Mr. Chair, and I want to kind of go in a little deeper because I received a climate change thing that we're working on. We had a meeting yesterday and I have to chair a meeting tomorrow on this. And there's a lot of feedback loops in the economic development and kind of what we're going to be responsible for, this whole solar push and everything. So I think everybody being at the table when these come up is great. So yes, I think it's value added.
Thank you. That being said, town manager, can you make time? I know you are stretched, but.
Yeah, it just depends when.
Okay.
My weeks are pretty.
So you got another one, John, and then, how about a board member?
You're not on, you're not on. Why are you all looking at me?
Jason, what are you up to? Mr. Perry?
All kinds of stuff, John.
Yeah.
I know.
I want to commit to something and not follow through.
If it helps folks, you guys can, think about it. The seat's always going to remain, there for the select board. You're the select board. And our next meeting is scheduled for the 16th of February, 2022. So.
All right, so you're gonna leave a position though always open, a permanent position always open for a member of this board?
Yeah, and would that work with the select board?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get back to you on,
Might be a rotation.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that works well. I think I've seen it operate at the ARP committee, so.
Is there anything else that you want to report or anything else that you would like to request at this time?
The only thing that we ran into, and this is just further discussion, not any further, meetings being recorded for the public to review, and also meetings and Zoom so that they can have access. I had a request from one of the board members. They, we're not going to be able to show in person, and they really strongly wanted that option. I made that happen, and that's as far as I'll go on it for now. Those meetings do cost $50 a piece. And then the other thing is a meeting minute recorder. There's some statutory things there when we're running a meeting, obviously, as you know, to have someone do the minutes. So what that looks like right now, I don't know, but that cost was like $70. I think the planning commission hired one most recently, is what I was told. So that's that cost. And like I said before, when it was asked from you folks, if I needed anything from you, I couldn't sell you on it because I didn't know. And so now that we have these two things, and I know we've discussed them in different platforms this evening. One is, are there any options that possibly could be free that go over 40 minutes? And two, if not, how do we ensure we hold these in a proper location that the public can participate?
If I'm going to be there, I have the Zoom account.
Well, there's one option right there.
Perfect.
And as the board evolves, and someone mentioned Margaret Mead, I got the email, it's one of my favorites. I love her quotes. I don't know who sent that, but as your board evolves, and again, really appreciate you doing all this stuff, we will, I don't want to speak exclusively for the board, I'm making this comment in general. We should consider maybe a global policy at some point regarding the having resources for all of our boards, maybe to have more, more transparency to the public. I don't know if that's having fact TV at every meeting, because there is an expense involved here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Mr. Chair. I think as long as we can offer that opportunity, my understanding is we offer it. We may run into technical difficulties, but these things happen and we're allowed the flexibility, so.
Okay, can we take that into consideration and get back to you in the next meeting also?
On that, yes. Is there a possibility to approve the people so that I can organize?
Sure.
Okay,
I move that we approve the slate of board members as submitted by John. Adequate?
I'll second.
So moved.
And these are gonna be all 1-year terms or something, so something.
Good point.
Definitely.
Is there a term to these people, to service, John?
I think we're gonna do 3 positions at 3, 3 at 2, and the remainder at 1.
So you'll come
Unless
back,
you have any objections. I think when we discussed it and established it, that
When you,
just overlapping.
when you set up the table of organization at your next meeting or thereafter, you'll come back and let us know.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair, absolutely. I'll bring back the positions, the years, and then you guys will see that. Yeah.
Withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Have we voted on it?
No, I withdrew
No.
my motion.
She withdrew the
Withdrew
motion.
my motion. We'll do it next time.
We'll do it next time. Okay? Good job, John, and again, thank you for all you're doing. Okay, moving on to manager's report.
I have nothing new to add to the meeting, but if you have any questions about what's been happening, I would I'd entertain it, but our efforts are still highly involved with FEMA, and so it's keeping us pretty busy with making sure that she has all the documents that she needs with backup, so.
Have you
Please.
found, where are we with that NRCS grant? Are we,
The USDA?
all right, sorry. Are we gonna pursue that? Have you found where we're able to come up with a match for that, or, I know you had some notes in there, but is that?
We did, and we can, we've kind of been waiting a little bit to see what our, the infrastructure grant is gonna look like. It's supposed to be out in the next, week or two, for towns, so that we would know our match. It's gonna strap, his budget, no question about it, but it's very, very important, so we've kind of been, I mean, I don't want to speak for Chuck, but we've kind of been on hold a little bit, just to let a little bit of time go by so that we're not jumping the gun and then having to retract. We surely don't want to get in over our heads, so.
one quick question is, there's been comments that more people have seen the sheriff around more than lately. Are they working
Never
more
seen
now?
them.
No,
I have never seen them.
Well, they're in Northwest Minster a lot now lately, so, yeah. But
the hours are not,
They're
we're
not.
getting February free.
I've met them several times, every day, just about when I'm out and about. I mean, different spots in the town.
They're all through Northwest Minster and all that, which is fine, but.
In the last,
Well, definitely the last couple of weeks, yeah, because
okay, well, that kind of got to the point where, right now, we're at like 46 hours of service. We're supposed to be, by now, we're supposed to be in the 80s to 90s, so we're already losing more, and we've already got 2 months in the rears for them.
yesterday, they were releasing the grant pretty heavily.
So I'm hoping they're gonna start giving us a little more effort, because it's to be very costly for them.
On the ramp, access road to 91,
Oh,
they
Are
had
they corresponding
two
to you?
different times.
I'm sorry?
Are they corresponding,
Over
not
when I was
corresponding to you either?
going.
No. I emailed him, and because I wasn't getting any callbacks, and I got him finally, and said, we really gotta do something now, because it's to the point where your contract states that $1,000, and you're much more than that. So he said, yep, February will be free, and we'll deal with probably April.
Are we getting that in writing from him?
Get another one. What's
Are we getting that in writing from him? February will be free? I mean, it seems like something we probably ought to have.
We have a contract.
Oh, I know, when you
And
call
it states that if he falls back $1,000 worth of service, that he'll start deducting off of our, so he's going to send us a bill and say no charge on it. So we'll have it for our records of February. And we'll also be looking at April. But that's fine.
If it's possible, I think as Jason was saying, it's not imprudent, or rude to ask him to see if he can send us an email, or send you an email simply saying that, hey, this is my intent, and you'll see it exactly as you just explained. Yes, sir.
Put it away, if he gives us a bill, we're not paying it anyway, so we can send it back. So, say the board's in agreement, we're not paying it for February.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Just to put it in perspective, Martin Luther King Day, they were plowing snow, there's a car parked in the middle of the road in Westminster West, almost in the Saxons River. I called the sheriff's department because it needed to be towed. Nobody will tow anything without police presence. They said, sorry, it's Martin Luther King Day, we're not working. Call the state police. So I called the state police. Nah, we don't have anybody in the area. Okay. Left it there, what are you gonna do? Throw a cone out next to it and go pick your cone up after the car's gone. Somebody could have rear-ended it, gotten in an accident, I don't know who'd be at fault, but I'm just saying, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
Not real handy.
Right.
No. And it's,
Horrible.
yeah.
Well, mud season's right around the corner, you're gonna probably have some of those same issues.
Well, yeah.
Cars, illegally parked.
Just leave it, right?
All right. Moving on to boards and commissions.
Nothing to report, everything is going, as planned. So it's doing well.
Okay, that brings us to the other business. We had a discussion initially. Are you there? Is everybody there?
I think she logged off.
Is she gone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keenan.
Oh,
She's watching and texting her right now.
I'm sorry?
She's watching and texting her right now, so she shouldn't be coming up.
Okay.
So Kevin, your A is, you've talked about it enough.
Which one?
Hello.
Hi. Welcome back.
Sorry, my son dragged me away.
Appreciate your patience. So taking up what you initially had brought up.
Yeah, so I think my main, not concern, my main interest was that it seemed the NIMRIC contract back in 2015 stated that it would be readdressed by both parties every year, but there didn't seem to be any real documentation of any contract with them between 2015 and 2021, nor were there any of the expense reports on there. So it just was a little bit difficult to figure out at what point the price or the expense increase might have come. The original contract that we signed with them was for $20,000 a year at the cost of like $1,666 a month. And the 2021 report showed that we spent $43,000. So I guess I was just kind of wondering when that might have happened, and what kind of contractual agreements we had with them, and whether or not that was something that we bid out to other organizations, or if we were just kind of content with what we had and thought we were good and didn't look elsewhere. That's kind of it. That's all I had.
Thank you. Mr. Town Manager, on the history of NEMRIC, I guess, the contract and what she brought up. Thank you for your comments.
Well, for the last 5 or 6 years, and I don't know exactly, Ernie has held his prices for Town of Westminster level. They have not gone up. We, as a board, you as a board, have increased services at points throughout those last few years, including this one that we're in right now, going into. So their estimates, because they are by the hour, when they're used to its fullest, we have a dollar amount. When they're not, we pay less. A good example is the assessor, Al Kudron, very seldomly uses all of the monies that are budgeted for him, but they're there in case we have the need, which at times we do. So it's been a very fair contract with them, and so hence they have not gone up needing a new contract. So that's why we haven't been pressing it, but because they have been level funded. So every year he does give us upon a call, gives us the up and down. He did go up this year for the first time, and we are supposed to be receiving a new contract. We haven't yet.
How far up?
It went up, do you know roughly? No idea.
2 years ago, the support agreement, so you have multiple contracts with us, you don't just have one. You have the assessors, the land record stuff has one, the finance that Cassandra's talking about from that's just my work. So you have many aspects, plus you have the support agreement for the software, meaning you back up to our server that's secure and off-site, so your data can be obtained at any given time, back several years. You pay for that.
We have dues, disaster recovery, contracted services, financial training, assessor, CAMA, MS cost tables, and digitizing now, for soon, we'll have digitizing land records. Those are the items that we have right now.
Russ,
with them.
I think what she's saying though, going back history, before we had the NIMRIC here a lot, we had a full-time lister and we had almost full-time people in there working. Each time when we had to add their services, because we took full-time people, we lost full-time people. So even when the town clerk decided they no longer wanted to be the town treasurer and town clerk, we didn't really they got done and we had to hire somebody. So we hired NIMRIC and we said it was probably cheaper than trying to hire somebody part-time to be a treasurer. That's how we got there. Same thing when we lost Babs and we lost all the listers, we hired them to help out, hired Al, then turn around and all the listers quit again, and we basically have had to hire them for more service and on it. So I think if you go back and look, if when we first hired them, they were only doing just a small amount of work because we had full-time employees doing a lot of the work that they're doing now. And as we went along, we have less people in that building now than what we ever had before. And one is because of them. Is it time sometime that we get to a point where we need to go back and look and address that? Are we hiring out so much in that service that we could afford to hire somebody to do this full time? I think it's going to come back to where we need to bring it back and have that discussion. They've been great. They gave us a lot of service that's been really good. It's an outside service, but we are to a point where just what we're having with the town treasurer trying to come in and run for election. Is there a time that we were looking at when we had Bill Jewell here full time that was just doing appraisal work for us? We lost all those people, but maybe there's a position in there that would cut our costs back with NIMRAC if we turn around and I think that that's something as a select board, the town manager, in that get together and would listen to them, like what can we do that would make them not have to be here as much? And then is the cost prohibited that we turn around and hire a full-time person with benefits and everything else, that it becomes not efficient. There's so many different aspects. We never had people trained to be really good in one area. And that's where NIMRIC came in, is that we're having all these little pieces of service that they offer, whether it's her, him, her, that come in and help us a little bit compared to we having one person that doesn't really be trained to do all of that, where we're at.
Sue, thank you for that good synopsis. Sue, you had something?
No, I agree with Right, I think we did
And Cassandra, you can get me if I'm wrong here, you made you made a comment regarding the bidding. I guess, and again, I'm not trying to leap ahead, but we've had NERIC for a long time. And my question is, are there other companies that do similar services?
There
Are you
are,
asking me or Nimric?
No, I'm
Sorry.
when you mentioned the word bidding, a lot of people have come in and asked about whether or not we've properly bid a certain contract. Many people come on the call like you did and ask whether or not we've bid a contract effectively according to policy. So I'm making the question, since you brought it up, is this a contract that we would bid? And the question I guess I had is there even another company that does something as unique as they do?
Kevin,
Yeah,
want me to address that?
sure.
The answer is yes. There's always other companies that do the kind of work that we do. I just want to make a comment that you have no idea how happy I am to hear you guys say that you're going to explore some options of possibly bringing back some full-time people or maybe even some part-time people. The goal of NIMRIC, especially in the area of finance, is always to kind of work ourselves out of a contract. We want a town to be self-sufficient in that area. We want to help them when they have the need, but we really kind of want to work ourselves out of that contract. So we kind of fill that need. The assessing arena is a little different because what we're finding in towns all over the state of Vermont is that a part-time or contracted assessor working 1 day a week just is cheaper for them. So, and they might have some listers that do some other stuff. So I'm strictly talking about so I'm thrilled that you guys are talking. There was something I asked about a few years ago. I'm thrilled that you guys are talking about maybe bringing in a professional finance officer to the office. We are not worried about not having the work. We have plenty of work. But to answer Cassandra's question, which is a great question, there are other places that do it. I don't think that they've gone out to bid in this arena. Should they? I guess that's up to them as far as what their policy says. But there are other companies that do this kind of work. I can't tell you who they are. There's a few up north. This area, it's a little slim, but there's always people to do, maybe contract work. So I guess if that helps. And the other thing is that if there is a point in time that the board would like Ernie to attend a meeting to, talk about each contract, to let you guys know where it's at, what the date is, how much it was. I don't know where the 40,000 is coming from. I'm assuming it's a combination of all the contracts, but we'd be happy to present those to the public so that they can ask questions. But I am thrilled you guys are talking about maybe another avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Sue.
So I just think it's important if we do talk about creating such a position that we don't sit around and wait for the next meeting to talk, so that maybe form a subcommittee that can come up with some ideas and then come to the select board. Figure out a way to carve out some of those tasks, whether you meet with, Cynthia or Darlene or Ernie or whoever, treasurer, just to see what that position might look like. Because we do it at every meeting, we're never going to get it done.
Right.
Months will pass.
Yes.
Years, yeah. So anyway,
Can I
that's
just
what I
add
think.
one comment? As a
Yeah.
bookkeeper and accounting person, you are too complex for QuickBooks, okay? Do not, please, this is too complex of accounting to put into QuickBooks. That is by far your worst option, is my opinion, as a bookkeeper.
Katrina.
We own the software, correct? We have a software agreement.
Yes, there's
So
agreement.
we could have somebody who is trained to use the software.
Yeah.
we lease the software.
Okay.
We buy it every year. We
Okay,
literally
right.
lease it
The
every year.
agreement, we're on the cloud, so people
Right.
work remotely or in the office. We offer support. That's what I typically do during the day.
So you don't have to rework the
calls.
whole system.
Right.
You just,
I'm just saying QuickBooks.
right.
Kevin,
Yeah.
can I just, I'm sorry, somebody has their hand up. They can go first.
Okay, I can wait.
I just want to correct, you don't lease the software, you purchase the software. The annual amount that you pay is a support agreement that you pay to us to be able to use the support line to ask questions, upgrades, payroll tax tables, all of the things that come along with us having to maintain our software. But if you were to stop paying the support contract, you would still have the software on your computer. We wouldn't take that from you.
Sorry, yes.
Does that answer your question, Katrina?
Yes, but I also have another
Please.
comment.
Yeah, please.
The state of Vermont, the Department of Taxes, they are, I believe in July of 2022, their contract with Limerick in terms of like their grand list, property appraisal stuff, I believe it's void, and they're going with a company called Axiomatic, I believe. It's a New Hampshire-based company. I think we should at least investigate what they have to offer. I mean, they don't do a full thing. I don't believe they're comprehensive like Limerick is. I think it's just property valuations and just do that right. But in terms of we're gonna research other options, even if we do small sections, it would be one, since the state is going that way, how are things going to integrate with theirs if it's different?
Okay, excellent. June, did you have something? Okay, yes.
I can address that somewhat. She's absolutely right. We won't have a contract for our grand list program, which is one program out of, I think we have 24 programs or something. We have been working closely with Axiomatic to have the integration be able to happen. The Axiomatic portion of it is going to be automatically, I believe, what the towns are going to have to use for portions of the assessment process. So that won't even be anything you guys have to buy. That will be all implemented by the state. The training will be done by the state. But we work really closely with Axiomatic right now to make sure that the pieces they're not covering are integrating with the NIMRIC software.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And, any other comments on this matter? Thank you so much for bringing this up. So we will place this on the agenda, and specifically, as what Sue said, you want us to go back to the book, so we make sure we're moving this along quickly.
Yeah, my suggestion is you have a couple of subcommittee, a couple of board members, like, research it, instead of having to have every 2 weeks, so they can do something in between.
Anyone interested?
I mean, I can work on it for a little while. Yeah.
I can work with you.
Okay.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay.
You and me, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Terrific. Any other comments? Okay, I want to thank everyone from the public, online, and here for all their participation.
No, just
you and Susan.
Yeah.
Susan, Susan. Okay. Any other comments? Thank you all. Be safe. Travel safely. Stay warm.
I move we adjourn.
Movement to adjourn.
second.